Classic Conversations is brought to you by Palm Springs Life magazine, celebrating 50 years of bringing art and culture to Southern California. The Camelot Theaters, bringing you retrospective documentary and art films, foreign and award-winning motion pictures. And the following: Dr. Betty Baxter, certified life coach and consultant. Cash Baxter. Rick and Rosine Supple, supporting the arts and the Palm Springs Cultural Center. The Betty M. Barker Trust. SERP and John Conte Foundation. The Stephen Philibosian Foundation, supporting the arts and the Virginia Waring International Piano Competition. Dorothy and Harold Meyerman, supporting the arts and the Palm Springs Art Museum. The Coachella Valley History Museum, sharing the unique history of the desert and its pioneers. The Dr. Carrion Foundation, providing scholarships for Coachella Valley Mexican-American students. Hello, everyone. I'm Gloria Greer. As a journalist for over 35 years, I have interviewed some of the most important and entertaining people of our time. So please join us as we sit back and enjoy classic conversations. Hi, everybody. You know, before there was Entertainment Tonight, Access Hollywood, the Entertainment Channel, or any entertainment reports on daily newscasts, there was Rona Barrett. She was and is an original who forever changed the way we look at entertainment news. And here's just a little sample of her early network specials, now available on DVD.
I was very much a prude in school. Never a kiss on that first date.
Anybody can be very sexual. Any person or any man, woman, child even.
If I go to bed with somebody, I want to have something to talk to them about afterwards. I want to be in love.
Why is it, because a man wants to remain single, that there has to be something wrong with him?
Rona, that is my personal experience. I can't share it with you.
If I can just do my part by inspiring everyone, God, that could be great.
People go, hey, fantastic, you know I love you, dear. Hey, you're a great kind of guy.
I very rarely went to him with any problems. It's a very strange relationship. I never wanted to upset him.
You know, before we meet Rona Barrett here, let's look at the opening of Rona's DVD.
Hello and welcome. For those of you who grew up with me on TV, thank you for visiting us. It's been a very long time since I've sat behind a desk in front of a TV camera and delivered my daily entertainment reports about the movies, television, music, some political news, and all the people who were in front and behind the scenes of the entertainment industry. For those of you who are just meeting me for the first time, my name is Rona Barrett, and for more than 30 years, People in Entertainment News was my beat.
And it is such fun to have Rona here in the studio with us because we've known each other a long time.
Longer than a weekend, as they say.
Right. Rona, before we talk about and I want to talk about the past, I want to talk about the present and the future, but what prompted you to do the TVD?
The Infinity Entertainment, a distributing company, asked me if I would be interested in taking some of my interviews and having them distribute them. And I said, only if you will give a portion of the proceeds to my foundation. It would be the only reason why I would really want to do this. And they agreed. And they agreed to that for every sale, they would give me $1 for the Foundation for Seniors in Need. And that's how it really started.
I wasn't going to get into the foundation right away, but I think since it's mentioned right now, we should. And I know that it helps poor people who do not have money. How did you get involved with starting the foundation, and what prompted you? What was behind it?
Two things, maybe three things. One was my mother passed away, and my father came to live with me. And he was about 86 years old when he came to live with me. And he seemed perfectly okay, even though he'd had several heart attacks. And suddenly one day, it was like, who are you? And that was such a devastating moment when I realized that he was going in and out of serious phases of dementia and was possibly entering into the first real phase of Alzheimer's. And at the same time that that was occurring, I had a group of women and men whom I called my guardian angels on earth. And these women and men were really old enough to be substitute parents. And one day I received a phone call and said, so-and-so is very sick. Her husband can't do this for her. Her children live across the country. Somebody's got to take her to the doctor. She's not going to make it. And off I went from Santa Ynez, California, where I was now living, back to Los Angeles. And while I was there, several of my other wonderful lady friends were also in sort of trouble. Some of them had lost all their money, and they had really no one to take care of them. And when I got back to Santa Ynez, I said, we have a serious situation. I mean, we have lots of crises occurring in this country, but it seems to me that it is always the elderly and the poor and children who get cut from all the bills and everything before anybody else ever really does. And I said, I've got to do something for these people. And so I started the Rona Barrett Foundation. At the same time that I started the Rona Barrett Foundation, I also had become a farmer, or what I called a farmeress. And that was, I started growing lavender as a business. And once I had all the lavender, it's the old story. Now what do I do with it? So I started making products, because it's products that people want to buy. And then I decided, well, if Paul Newman could do it with his food, maybe I could do it with my lavender business and give the profits to the foundation. And that's basically how it all really began. And before I knew it, I just started learning everything there was to know about elder care, caregiving, etc.
Well, let me ask you something, and I want to talk about so many other things, but the Medicare will only take care for a certain length of time? Is that it? And of course there must be people who, for some reason or other, maybe didn't work or their husbands didn't, who don't have Medicare. I don't know.
Well, there are some people who don't have Medicare. Most of the people that I'm referring to are on SSI, which is a Social Security amount of money, and they get approximately $800 and less a month. These people can barely buy food, pay any kind of rent, or get assisted care living. Okay. So the Medicare pays for, if you are really seriously ill, they will cover expenses for about 3 months. And after that, you will often see, and that's what broke my heart, I would see a taxi cab dropping off an elderly person right down in downtown Los Angeles. They had no place to go.
So what do you, okay, so then when you have the funds in the foundation, do you take care of these people individually?
No,
or how do you do it?
I wish I could take care of them individually, but I was basically giving the funds to other non-profits who handled things such as food, Meals on Wheels, adult senior daycare centers, hospice, and other organizations, sheltering, food, clothing, all of those kinds of things that they were already doing and knew how to do. But my real goal was for one day to build what I called a Harry's house, named after my father. And it was a long time in coming, and I'm very happy to announce to you and to everyone else that I have a new pilot program that the foundation has started, and we're about to start buying a piece of property. And what we are going to build is a new type of facility with a pilot program that is more or less of a one-stop shop for the for the elderly in this country, whom I feel we owe a great deal to.
Of course.
And these were the people who made us a great nation, and now some of them, most of them, need our help. And I may call the facility the Golden Inn, because I want these people to experience really, finally, what a golden years are all about.
You know, we could go into a whole thing, because nothing has disturbed me more than what happened at the Motion Picture Relief Home. I think it's the worst thing that ever happened in the industry.
I think Lou Wasserman, who was the president of Universal Pictures, or MCA Universal, I think would probably be rolling over in his grave, because I do believe he left quite a few $1 million.
Well, many people did. That's just it.
To handle this particular side of the hospital issue of the Motion Picture Country Home. Somehow they have run out of money, and that facility was closed.
And one other thing, and then I do want to talk about so much that you've done, but the fact that we have all these young stars, the Brad Pitts, the Angelina Jolies, all these people who give so much money overseas, to Africa, to here, to there, but they couldn't take care of their own to help bail out the people in the industry who made the industry something that they were able to reap the rewards from?
You know, Gloria, I can't give you an accurate answer, because for all I know, they may really have given money to these foundations, and we don't know anything about it. There are many people who give to the Motion Picture Country Home and to other facilities who would prefer being anonymous.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
Right.
They, you know, Brad and Jolie may have indeed given money to the Motion Picture Country Home, but it seems to be it's another group of people, the other generation, who has supported this for years and years.
Yeah. You know, I am going to go back, because when you first did entertainment news on the news, it was something that no one did.
That's
at
true.
all. It just was an unheard of thing.
And no one wanted to do it because they never had enough time on a 30-minute news broadcast to find the extra 2 or 3 minutes to devote to entertainment news. And I just, every time I wrote another story and saved some money, I got on a plane, go back to New York City, would go and knock on the doors of Dick Salant at CBS and all the fellas at ABC and at NBC, and they would always tell me the same thing, Gloria. This is a very good idea, but I don't know how we're going to do this. And then they would lay out the front page of the New York Times, and they would say, this is how much I can get in 22 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I haven't even finished the entire page. So, Rona, I don't know what to say to you, but it won't be here at CBS or NBC or ABC right now that this will happen. But I sort of never gave up. And when I did want to give up, and believe me, there were times when I really said I'd had it. And these wonderful people that I told you about before would say, you can't give up, including my father one day.
Yeah. Well, when you were on first local ABC in Los Angeles,
well,
that was it. That was number one, before you did all these great specials.
But you know how long it took me to get to the KABC? It took me 8 years before somebody would allow me to go on KABC.
But
the local.
Now, are you astounded at what has happened to entertainment news today?
I'm astounded on how it's being done more so than I am astounded about people wanting to know about famous people and what they do. But I think at some point now, it is no longer controlled by people who are really interested in being news reporters. They are wonderful readers, and it's controlled by PR people. The spinning of a story is really from somebody else, and they're always trying to do something else. It's just not what we used to do.
Well, now, another thing, on the DVDs, you ask some very personal questions, and this various celebrities answer them. And it just was amazing to me, having not seen these interviews in many, many years, the quality, the depth of the interviews and the answers. Today, with the paparazzi everywhere, and the kind of thing that's going on all over the world around celebrities, I don't even know if any reporter today can get close enough to have the trust, that you obviously had, or they wouldn't have talked to you?
I don't know how to answer that. It's become a different world.
Yeah.
We had paparazzi a long time ago, but they weren't really called paparazzi, and they were wonderful photographers. And if you said, "Please, no shots now," that was the end of it. But nobody was really crawling into bushes to take pictures of you.
Bob Hope could walk down the street here, so could Frank Sinatra.
Absolutely, that was the truth. But now it's almost impossible for a lot of them because so much money. It's all about money, Gloria. In the final analysis, it's about how much money can I make from taking this particular photograph that may not be that flattering of someone and sell it to one of these stations or now on the internet. Just splash it on YouTube or splash it on the Facebook, splash it on Twitter, whatever, you know, and before you know it, the whole world has seen something sometimes not very attractive.
Right. I mean, I'm just astounded by it, and I think it's awful. I think it's ruined, in my opinion. I don't mind giving my opinion. It's ruined journalism in a way, because everything is tabloid press today. And when you did it, it wasn't. You were the first with entertainment, but it really wasn't like that at all.
Well, I think there's a great big movement in this country, and I hope you don't get a lot of mail, what I'm going to say. But we've been dumbing down America for such a long time that they are getting really what I guess they want. And if they knew something different, I don't think that they've been educated enough. And I don't mean by going to school, but there's no family around anymore. There's no tradition to keep the tradition rolling. It's now all about me.
Yeah.
And all about the money I can make.
All right, forgetting the money, let's talk about you.
Oh, really? No.
No, I mean, we found out about the lavender, but you went on to write many books. I mean, you wrote a novel. You wrote
my autobiography.
Your autobiography, Miss Rona.
God, when I think about writing something when I was just about 30 years old or something, or writing an autobiography, I must have been out of my mind.
But
anyway, it was very cathartic and it was a bestseller. But I don't know about whether I'll do a second one.
Did you keep enormous notes?
I had one of those memories also that I really could record anything. I used to go traveling around on the Sunset Strip, and all I had to do was go into the parking lots, and I knew everybody's license plate number, and I knew exactly who was at what restaurant where, and it was just that kind of mind. I do not have it today. Thank you very much.
What about your unauthorized biography of Prince Charles? How did
I never wrote that. I have begged Wikipedia.
Well, it's in your bio.
No.
It's on the one that the Palm Springs Walk of Stars. You were on it yesterday.
Yeah,
that's interesting because I didn't know you did that, and I thought, oh, that's interesting.
No,
Okay.
We talked about this, and with the PR people who were handling this. I said, I never wrote anything about Prince Charles. I do not know. It's on Wikipedia, and for some reason, I'm accused of writing a book that I
wrote enough books. You don't need that.
I met Charles once. That was it. And that was the end of it. I never wrote a book about him, ever.
That's incredible because it is on the bio that the Walk of Stars said.
I understand.
And I'm thrilled that you received your star yesterday, and you have your little star pin that you're wearing.
Yes,
and
I am.
You're selling it for a very special reason.
Well, we're selling the little stars for $20. You can go to my website and get it. And just realize that $20 can help us feed one elderly person for a whole week.
Great.
And even more. So, and the DVD, I get $1 for that. For the foundation, doesn't come to me, it goes straight to the foundation, and we're able to support the others. And as I told you, I'm about to start this pilot program and building a facility which can be eventually duplicated all over the country into communities like
That'd be wonderful.
Like here and any place else.
Yeah.
And as I called it, the Golden Inn.
Rona, in doing your interviews that you did, and you got very personal with people, one of the people that you interviewed on the DVD is Priscilla Presley, and you broke the story of the marriage between Elvis and Priscilla. How did you get that story?
Living here in the desert. Well, actually, I was back in LA and you know, you have sources, and I had sources telling me that there were lots of activities going on at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. And so I started putting two and two together, and I said, I bet you they're getting married this weekend in the desert. And so I drove down to my house in the desert on that weekend, and I brought another person with me, had him go all around to every flower shop in Palm Springs and elsewhere to see if flowers were being delivered to Elvis's home. Now, Elvis's home was right around a cul-de-sac from where I was living. And sure enough, I then got a tip from somebody who said to me, something is happening. And then it was confirmed to me that Frank Sinatra's plane was going to be used. It was going to be at the airport. They were leaving late at night. I couldn't stay up to watch the limousines and the cars drive away, but I knew it was the story, and we managed to break it.
You ask very personal questions of everyone you interviewed, and in a very charming way, and I was just amazed in re-looking at them at the honesty with which they answered. So I'm going to ask you, you got married about a year ago, but you've known your husband for a long time. What's that story?
As I say, longer than a weekend. He was the first serious romance that I had when I came to Hollywood. And it was not meant to be at that time. And I eventually, many years later, married a lovely man to whom I was married for 30 years, who passed away. And the next thing I knew, a few years after he had passed away, my old friend came back into my life, and we found we still had a great deal in common, and he was just a terrific man, and I always loved him, and we got married.
Now, are you still living in Santa Ynez?
Yes.
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 The Lady Rancher.
Lady Rancher, or Farmeress, as they call me.
Are you going to do more DVDs, and are you going to write another book?
I probably will do all of it. I'm very proud of these DVDs, and I always wanted to know what made people tick, Gloria. You do too, I'm sure.
Of course.
And so when I asked these questions, they were questions that had never been asked really of celebrities and famous people. And my first special was with Anne Margaret and Cher and Liza Minnelli and Raquel Welch. And they were four of the hottest movie stars and television personalities in our country at the time. And I wanted to know, were they like me? I mean, was there any similarity? Was my life something like theirs? Was their life something like mine? So I started asking the questions that when girls and women get together, you know, who was your first boyfriend, and who was your this, and why did you really want to do this, and how did you get to do them? You know, all of those kinds of things.
And even sex. I mean, you certainly brought in sex with some of those interviews,
well,
which
I've
is
always
pretty
thought...
astounding to me. Again, done in a very nice way.
Well, it was the beginning of that whole sexual revolution. People were talking about it. And people were also doing it with the birth of the pill, so to speak. There was a lot more experimenting with sex and et cetera. And I was curious, weren't you?
Of course.
So I asked the questions. It took me like 6-7 months to convince Raquel Welch to do this first interview. But I told everybody up front, I'm not going to ask you questions that other people may have asked you before. This is not necessarily about your latest film. This is about you.
Right.
And that's what I did.
And you also said you never ask a question that you wouldn't answer yourself.
That's true.
Yeah. I want to thank you for being here, Rona, and I do want to wish you, because today is your birthday. I really adore viewers. Classic Conversations is brought to you by Palm Springs Life magazine, celebrating 50 years of bringing art and culture to Southern California. The Camelot Theaters, bringing you retrospective documentary and art films, foreign and award-winning motion pictures. And the following: Dr. Betty Baxter, certified life coach and consultant. Cash Baxter. Rick and Rosine Supple, supporting the arts and the Palm Springs Cultural Center. The Betty M. Barker Trust. SERP and John Conte Foundation. The Stephen Philibosian Foundation, supporting the arts and the Virginia Waring International Piano Competition. Dorothy and Harold Meyerman, supporting the arts and the Palm Springs Art Museum. The Coachella Valley History Museum, sharing the unique history of the desert and its pioneers. The Dr. Carrion Foundation, providing scholarships for Coachella Valley Mexican-American students.